Okay, cosine law. We have the same law we did last time, but this time we're going to focus on solving for an unknown angle. So we're going to go down to our triangle here, and we have three sides. Okay? If I have three sides, the only formula I can use to solve is cosine law. Okay? We're going to look for angle E in this question. Now, because cosine law, remember we talked about this last time, we're memorizing it as just C, A, and B. What we're going to do is rename the triangle. If I'm looking for angle C, what do I want to rename that to?
C.
Can I say C out loud? Sorry. If we're looking for angle E, what do I want to rename it to? That's right. Okay? Which means 750 is called what side? Good. And then the other two, are they as important for naming the A and the B? We're just going to choose two. So we're going to call GA, which makes 500 feet, side A. And we're going to call FB, which makes 650, side B. So now that we have that, it's the same idea. We're going to plug values into our cosine law. And then we're going to solve for unknown variable. Now, recall, this is the side. So actually, in this case, we're looking for this uppercase C. The uppercase one is the angle, and that's what we're trying to solve for. So I actually have a measurement of side C. What is it? 750. So we're actually going to start with the left side. Going to say 750 squared is equal to side A, which is 500. So we get 500 squared plus side B is 650 squared. We're going to do that, exactly. 2 times A, which is 500, B, which is 650. But I don't actually have an angle. We're looking for cos, and we're still looking for that C. This is our unknown variable. Now remember, when we isolate stuff, we need to get C by itself in the end. That's going to be the ultimate goal. But we're going to simplify this question a little to make it easier for us to manipulate everything. Okay? So the very first one. Whoops, wrong one. 750, let's square this and figure out what that's going to be. 750 squared, 562, 500. So 562, 500. Okay? 500 squared, 25,000, something like that? Double check. 250,000. 250,000. What's 650 squared?
220,500.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. Then recall that when we put this in, it's like -2. So -2 times 500 is going to be -1,000 times 650 is going to be -650,000. Okay, so I'm going to put little commas here so we realize that these are hundreds of thousands. So these are rather big numbers. And this is still multiplied by cosine. Okay? Now this is where many people make a mistake. We know that the goal in this question is to isolate C. So the first thing I really want to do is start moving things to the other side. Now on this side we have 562,500. We want to move this 250,000, this 422,500. This value here, we cannot move. Why can't I move this value over right away? It's technically multiplied. So the way we would move this is because both of these are positive, we're going to make them negative on the other side. We can't do this with this value because it has to be multiplied by this. So the very first thing we're going to do is going to move these two values. Also, we could technically simplify them and then move them, but let's do this all in one spot here. So 562, 500. The 250,000 becomes negative on this side, so 250,000. The 400,000 becomes negative, 422,500. And now our equal sign is here. It is equal to, and this is what's left over, negative 650,000 times cosine. Okay? Now on the left side of the equation, we can simplify this. And I'm going to quickly do that. 562,500 subtract 250,000 subtract 422,500 negative 110,000. So on the left side, all we're left with is negative 110,000. What I did is I equated those three numbers. Is equal to negative 650,000 times cosine. Well, the goal is to get what by itself? Cosine. So in order to move that negative 650,000, what operation will you use, Sam? Yeah, exactly right. Because it's multiplied on this side, when we move it over, it needs to become division. So we get divided by negative 650,000. Good, Sam. We're going to put this into the calculator. We're going to divide by 650,000 when it's a negative value.
That's 65,000.
Thank you. You're right, it was. Divided by 600. Is that right? Yeah. There we go. 0.169. We'll round to there. 0.169. And was it negative or positive? It was positive. Good. So positive 0.169 is equal to just cos C. Are we done? Is that what the angle's measurement is? What do we have to do? Second function cos, we need to invert cos. So think of it like we're bringing cos to the other side. The goal is to get C by itself. So in order to get C by itself, we have to invert cos. So we get cos inverted, and we're going to put this number into that function. Okay. So luckily on my calculator, that's very easy to do. Inverse cos, and I get 80.2, which is approximately 80 degrees. Okay. So our final answer is our angle C is 80 degrees, and let's kind of go up and around here. What they're saying is this E was 80 degrees. Well, does this make sense? Remember, a triangle has to be 180. So if we take 80 away, at most, our other angles, because they're relatively close, they'll probably need to be less than 80. Okay? Yeah, if we split it in half, they'd be 50, but we know they're not 50 because these two distances are the same. So because this is the longest side, opposite of it is 80 degrees. It makes sense. We'll probably want to test the other two. It's a little harder logically to think of this because we could get a very large angle for another one, but we'd be incorrect. So 80, if we were to solve the rest of them, should be the largest angle we find. To solve the rest of this triangle, just as a side note, I now have a complete ratio. What other law can I use now to solve the rest? I can use sine law to solve the rest of this triangle, which is a little easier to go through. And then once I find a second angle, what would be the easiest way to find the third angle?
Well, add it all up.
Well, because we know that 3 angles equal 180, if we have the measures of 2, we just subtract them from 180. And then we get the last one. Oh, and you didn't know that either.